Well, hello and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for October 14th, the day of moderation. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of moderation. We have us an image of three oddball looking flowers with, well, maybe you can't see it, but they look like devil's tails down there. They come to a point. I thought they were roots, but they're not. In any event, looks like some flowers out of, I don't know, like an Alice in Wonderland, Willy Wonka, maybe the Voynich Codex. Who's to say? I'm not really a botanist, if you like, though I do have a little bit of a literary background, obviously. That being said, not altogether important what the visual representation is supposed to allude. Maybe we can put together some connotation as we get on with the read. But like I said, altogether not important. What is important is it's someone's birthday today. That's right. Is it October 14th and it's your birthday today? Well, if it is, I just want to extend you a heartfelt happy birthday. That's right. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, maybe even months, well, I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everyone else who's joining us randomly, well, or more ideally to celebrate the October 14th birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we dive in with the birthday redirect, this is the DykASSt a birthday broadcast, so let's live up to the namesake and roll some dice. That's why we're rolling them here. More importantly, we roll them for synchronicity's sake. We rolled us a 1 and a 3 for a 4. That's right. So what is synchronicity, might be wondering? Well, it's just you getting out into the world, letting the universe show you it's with you on your path. And you use these numbers as kind of a waypost, if you like, or a way to see that the universe is with you. It's like a mutually agreed upon sign, if you like. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled you. You can do your own, but the intention's there. But it's ideal, or, you probably take your own dice. And I say that because you can assign directional values to number sets and then roll dice for numbers to figure out how long to go in those directions. And when you reach the end of those time limits, well, you just step back, compose yourself, keep your eyes open, and you look for your signs. That's right. Your 1 and your 3, 4, 4. Now, maybe you don't see your numbers. Sometimes it might just be something oddball and out of the scheme of what's going on with the environment you're in at the time. It might be somebody walks by with a hockey jersey on and everybody else is wearing shorts and a short sleeve tee. Who's to say? But hey, maybe that hockey jersey just happens to have like a 13 or a 31 on it. It could be. It could be little things like that. Things you wouldn't otherwise take note of. But that being said, hey, maybe the number 4 bus pulls up as you're standing there. I mean, it's just screaming at you that that's a sign. Jump on there. That's the bus. I know you might not ride it all that often, or if ever, but hey, jump on there. And maybe you just happen to have a perfect change in your pocket for the ride. Synchronicity. But hey, maybe you get off on the next stop, because it's the number 4 stop, right? 13 maybe. And you get off and you find yourself in front of a flower shop. Oh, wouldn't that be a thing, right? For synchronicity. In any event, I think you get the idea. That's kind of like an ideal case, circumstance, but that's synchronicity if you like. But in any event, let's get on with the read. Your month is October. Your day, the 14th. Your sign is 20 to 22 degrees Libra. Your period is Libra III specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal air. All right, October 14th, the day of moderation. Moderation is a recurrent theme in the lives of October 14 people. This is not to say that they are boring or even conservative people, but that navigating a path between the pitfalls of excessive behavior is indeed a great challenge. And when those born on this day stray far from the straight and narrow, they most often court disaster. However, it is through such mistakes that they grow and learn to turn things to their advantage in the future. In a sense, October 14th people are in a bind, as they are best suited for a moderate life, but if finely balanced and moderate in all things, can deprive them of not only failure and emotional lows, but also some of the ecstatic highs life has to offer. And more highly evolved October 14th persons display a great deal of composure and reserve. Taking time in everything they do is extremely important to them, and thus they hate to be rushed. Verbal facility is rarely their forte, so it may be through the use of visual images, the written word, music, or perhaps leadership and personal example that they express themselves. The communication of knowledge, critiquing of others' work, and commenting on life in general are important outlets for their highly developed mental side. And those born this day are less often physically oriented, and their physical nature or talents may lie dormant or at least make little initial impression. And discovering an awakened sexuality, having children, suffering a serious accident or illness, or falling in love with a sport can bring these mental individuals down into their bodies in a kind of second incarnation. October 14th people tend to rule the roost, but rarely in an aggressive or overt way. More often working behind the scenes as the power behind the throne. They are not overly attached to physical objects and material concern, but their home itself is very important to them, often doubling as a workplace. And in their personal life, they can be quite content with a monogamous relationship, but must beware of the twin pitfalls of isolation and subservience to a more dominant personality. Particularly true of women, it says in parentheticals. On October 14th, people are capable of lending great stability to the lives of their family, friends, colleagues, and social group. They enjoy being part of the show and the theater of life, but more often function as managers rather than stars. It is an interesting paradox that though, as mentioned above, October 14th people can be somewhat static personalities, the theme of travel so often figures prominently in their lives. And those born on this day very rarely spend their adult years where they grew up. For the more highly evolved of October 14th people, life's travels not only signify physical movement, but are symbolic of freedom of spirit. Because of their stable and balanced traits, too many born this day tend to be complacent and stagnant. They must try to keep busy and set themselves high standards and monthly or yearly goals, which must be met. Well, all right. How about that for a birthday read? They really explored that dynamic moderation in a way that I really hadn't anticipated. Well, based on the title. But in any event, hey, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary, so let's dive in with some notes on the breakdown. All right, moderation, the name of the recurrent game for October 14th people. Not that you're boring or conservative, it said, no, sir, or ma'am. No, you just court disaster, reading claims, when you stray from the straight and narrow. Something I can personally understand. Matter of fact, one of the very reasons I effort to stay away from trouble myself. See, I almost always get caught, all right? So to that end, I often may be the only one catching the blame for something I didn't even do. Let's see, straight and narrow for me, I would say. But interestingly enough, the reading also claims in such instances of error are to your advantage, as they are teachable lessons. Very adroit way of looking at that, really. I hope it applies for you. But it's interesting they claim you're also in a bind, as if you go the moderate route, you may also be depriving yourselves of some otherwise ecstatic highs. The reading also states that you hate to be rushed, and verbal facility may not be a strength of yours. And so other avenues may be your best option to express yourself, to which, of all the areas mentioned, I'd say verbal is no great loss, considering the use of the word, adroit. It's not all that accessible either, all right? And all the other things they mentioned for you, I mean, those are great ways to express oneself. And a lot of times people get up there, if they've only got their verbal acuity, but they don't have a passion for the aesthetics or all the other things that they mentioned there in the book, they're kind of shallow individuals. So, hey, no big, great loss if you're not real great with the verbal acuity. It says you're also rarely aggressive in your leadership, and home is important to you, but not materialistic concerns so much. And an otherwise modest life suits you well, providing you avoid isolation and being domineered by others, apparently. Which, obviously, I would like to think. But while it claims static lifestyle may be part and parcel, that doesn't mean you have to stagnate or be complacent. So live a moderate life for sure, but just be sure to keep it exciting. All right. What else to say? I say even if that in and of itself would look boring to outside eyes, or might involve some of the tasks/risks that might involve failure. It says you have a capacity to learn from such things, at least, and it said it was paramount that you do so. So, yeah, go ahead and live that stagnant life if you like. Isolated anyhow, but don't stagnate. That's right. Get out there and do something exciting once in a while. You got to keep learning, right? It says that that's the one way you do so, in a meaningful way anyhow. At least that's what I took from it. So that being said about your breakdown, I know it's a little bit disjointed there. That's okay. Hey, it's one shot, one take, but let's move on with your numbers and your planets. All right. Those born on the 14th day of the month are ruled by the number 5, as 1 + 4 = 5, and by the speedy planet Mercury. The influence of this planet underlines the strongly developed mental abilities of October 14th people mentioned above. The accompanying influence of Venus, the ruler of Libra, in combination with Mercury, grants strong aesthetic gifts as well as charm. And for those October 14 people who do stray off course, the number 5 indicates a resilient character which can recover quickly from the hard knocks of life. All right, they personalize this one a little bit. They don't always do that. Let's see what I had to say about your numbers and planets. The number 5 in the planet Mercury, for a resilient character as well as quick recovery from hardships, rejections, and based on past Mercury rulerships, heartbreaks as well. Not a lot said here, but I'm thinking the aesthetics in particular are lent by Venus, as Mercury in general is just a quickness of thoughts and reaction and recovery. But attention to detail and a love of games and puzzles are also mentioned for Mercury elsewhere in the book. So maybe that applies to you too. It's sometimes interesting to find these elements and go, hey, yeah, I do like puzzles and stuff. I know a lot of people, that's just a universal type thing. Maybe not. Not everybody likes puzzles and games, right? Any event. That's been your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, the tarot. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical philosophies, ideologies. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us and start dealing out cards and letting them influence our lives or go by what the cards say. Oh, you don't have to live by that edict. So let's just see what it has to say. All right, the 14th card of the major arcana is Temperance. How about that? Which emphasizes the above discussed themes of balance and moderation in the lives of those born on this day. The figure shown is a guardian angel who protects us and keeps us on an even keel. And such a figure can serve as a model for October 14th people. The card cautions against all forms of egotistical excess, and positively seen, Temperance modifies passions in order to allow for new truths to be learned and incorporated into one's life. And because Temperance may indicate negative qualities of passivity and ineffectiveness, October 14th people must resist trendiness and try to make their own way where style, technique, and systems of thoughts are concerned. Well, how about that? This card just seemed to inform your day to like a strategic level. I don't know if strategic is the right word, but it probably isn't. But I think you see what I mean. It seemed to inform quite a bit of it. So what I have to say about your tarot card here, Temperance, which discusses balance and moderation. Also a card that only pops up once a month, if memory serves. So somewhat unique, and that it cautions against ego excess. And for you specifically, apparently, it doesn't want you putting the guardian angel somewhat specific for you apparently. So you don't want to be putting the guardian angel through their paces by going against the moderation, all right? Not, at least not too hard, right? You chance that guardian angel dropping their sword if you do, I would argue. But I like this. It modifies the passions so new truths can be revealed and utilized, ostensibly informing the whole going against moderation and the learning dynamic mentioned in the breakdown. But even more so, bucking trendiness and realizing your own style. I like that. I like that. It said you have, you weren't strong with verbal acuity, but you had that whole other host of things that run the gamut of strength. So don't stagnate. Lean into those things, I would say. That's what I'd say about your tarot. I jumped ahead there on one of the lines, mixed things up. My little guardian angel, tacit there, but tacit's the wrong word. Segue, if you like. Hey, let's dive into your health. All right, let's get into your health here. Try to rectify the energy. All right, those born on October 14 must beware of all difficulties that can arise from sedentary or overstatic lifestyles. Problems with weight, depression due to repressed frustrations of a submerged or subservient personality and or lack of physical exercise can lead to health difficulties. October 14th people can make excellent cooks and even use the kitchen as the perfect theater for expressing their creativity, as it is suited in its intimacy to their often reserved personality. They must be careful, however, to observe moderation and not go overboard on fattening, rich, and or spicy foods, and daily walks are highly recommended. Oh, your daily walks. That's right. So this should be no problem at all. Getting out there, find your daily numbers. All right, your health. What do I have to say about your health here? Beware the sedentary lifestyle, associated ailments. Don't stagnate. All right. Weight, depression, frustration. Fight that junk if it applies. Sedentary lifestyles have been mentioned the past few days. That's kind of interesting. I know it probably applies to almost everybody these days, considering the computers and such. But this book was written back in like 1994, so it wasn't as applicable. So maybe take note there. What else do you have here? Make an excellent cook, and those multi-talents, no doubt. But again, moderation with the ingredients for you. So maybe eat a salad, but everybody else enjoys everything else. Don't do that, but unless you want to. But let's see here. Daily walks, it says. So you got to get your mind working. That's one of them things that's real good for getting the mind working. And then when you're done, maybe take a shower. Help you get your mind working even more. That's right. And wash off some of the sweat there. What else to mention? Oh, kidneys. That's right. They didn't make mention of the kidneys. And I only bring it up because like 95% of all the other Libra days bring up the kidneys, the intestines, and the back, and to take care of them. And so I figure we shouldn't forget that. A lot of times I say maybe take note because it's an interesting thing that hasn't been mentioned previously. But maybe take note because it wasn't mentioned. That means they might have ran out of space. But in any event, let's move on to some advice. All right, get some advice in here. Push yourself a bit to produce, it says, and don't hide away all the good stuff for too long. Share with the world at large and have fun surprising others. Dare to fail. All right. Real quick advice. Here we go. What I have to say. Push yourself to provide, it says. A bit, anyhow. Share with the world if you isolate, I'm assuming. And have fun surprising others. I say drill down on the aesthetic quality, I'd argue, all right, if you leave it. I don't know what I meant to say here. Boy, I meant to say, the aesthetics is a great way to surprise folks. They said surprise folks. If you have all these other talents, and if you're an isolated person, and maybe these people don't really know what you do in your off time so much. So if you want to surprise others, maybe showcase those talents you have that they otherwise don't know about. So that's a great thing to do. Dare to fail, all right? But just enough to learn, yeah? Don't land in hot water, okay? Remember, moderation, but don't stagnate. That's right. Let's see. What was the recurrent theme of the day for October 14th birth? Moderation. All right, so that's your advice. Let's take the energy down a hair, try to compose myself here for you for your meditation. All right, your meditation. After acknowledging the egg is the most perfectly packaged product, it is hard to imagine that God, the manufacturer, does not exist. Interesting. All right, one more time here. After acknowledging the egg is the most perfectly packaged product, it is hard to imagine that God, the manufacturer, does not exist. All right, that's been your meditation. I'm not going to try to throw some spin on it or some read. It's just for you. It's your birthday. I wouldn't want to influence what you might take from it. All right, hey, now with your meditation in the can, as it were, let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. All right, let's get it. Your strengths, you're measured, you're reasonable, you're composed. And your weaknesses, let's see where the work needs to be done. Your weaknesses, overly cautious, you're inhibited, and you're stuck. Ooh, stuck. You know what? Stuck's been on a couple of these the past few days, so you're not alone. All right, you just got to effort to get out of it. Don't stagnate. That's right. That's the other recurrent theme there. All right, so that's been your strengths and weaknesses, rather. Let's move on to those born on this day. And as we examine and get into those born on this day, something I like to do is talk about our passions. That's right. I think it's the perfect opportunity to see what other people have done and what their passions were and what might have got them in the book, got their stamp on the cultural zeitgeist, if you like. Because too often I get out in the world and meet folks and ask them what they do. And if they like it, more importantly, oftentimes they don't. Even if they say they do, sometimes you can read on their face. They're lying to you. But who can blame them, all right? You know, you get out of school, you get into a job that it's just the first one that came along. You got to get the money on the table. But you know what? A lot of times you don't have the time to put in the energy and the work that's required to figure out your passions, to figure out the thing you would love to do, that would get you doing backflips out of bed in the morning. But instead, you get home from work, you got to just kind of decompress, and then the weekend comes along, and you got to rally for the week ahead and get all the chores done. So you just no time to put in the work to figure out your passions. So I figured this is the perfect opportunity. See what other folks did to get put on a map. So maybe we can derive some inspiration from those born on this day. At the very least, I'm going to see who shares your company. So let's get into it. We start off with William Penn, the Quaker religious leader, peacemaker, and he founded the Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. He founded Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Dwight David Eisenhower, the U.S. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Allied World War II forces. Lillian Gish, the stage and silent film actress, and acted in 100 films. E. Cummings, the poet. Hannah Arendt, the political scientist and philosopher of the human condition. And I had to do a report on that book in philosophy, and I'll tell you what, I got a horrible grade because it said a whole lot of nothing. You'd think I didn't read the book. Here nor there. All right. Hannah Arendt, the human condition. That's the book, too. John Wooden, basketball coach, guided UCLA to unprecedented 10 national titles. Lamont Young, an avant-garde composer, pianist, and minimal music pioneer. Eamon de Valera was an Irish patriot, president, and prime minister. Perhaps is still around, I don't know, it doesn't say. Ralph Lauren, clothes designer. Roger Moore, the British TV film actor. Somewhat reserved, too, I would say. Let's see, we got John W. Dean III, convicted Watergate conspirator, and Nixon aide. I'll tell you what, there's been a few Watergate folks the past month or so. It's interesting they keep popping up. Who else we have here? Dorothy Wright Libes was a textile designer and the mother of modern weaving. Eugene Fodor, travel writer. Cliff Richard, British singer and film actor. Catherine Mansfield, New Zealand writer of The Garden Party. We also have Isaac Mizrahi, a fashion designer. Boy, I'm getting the names wrong today, I tell you what. Sheila Young, a U.S. world record holding speed skater and sprint cyclist. How's that for Mercury? James II, a British king. Le Duc Tao, a Vietnamese communist ideologist. Saying that wrong. My brain ain't telling me how to say it right. Alessio Baldovinetti, Italian Renaissance painter. And because we just butchered names, especially towards the tail end there. Let's do some butchering on our own. It's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. Isn't working for me with the names there. In any event, with that being said, hopefully you took some inspiration from some of the people who share your company. I know that's a hard ask, but hey, you never know. You never know what you might hear that might just get the drive going. That being said, that's been those born on this day. And with that also being said, that about rounds out your birthday, except to say your season is fall. Your sign, once again, is Libra, of the Libra III period specifically, and your quality and elements is Cardinal air. This has been October 14th, the day of moderation. From The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description. It makes an excellent coffee table book. If you, I know you said you're an isolationist, kind of stagnate, but if you ever have company over, this thing's going to get the party started. It's going to get the conversation flowing. For better or for worse. That's right. But hey, it's going to get it done. It might even help you crack some literal ice, especially get the hardcover there. In any event, that's not what's important. What's important here, it's wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. It was your birthday. Happy birthday. But for everyone else who joined us to celebrate, I want to say thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you on your birthday. I almost said welcome again. Lest we forget your daily numbers. Get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your side. And we were just one shy of a number 5, right in with your number there. But hey, it doesn't always happen that way. In any event, once again, I just want to say happy birthday. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Take care of yourself too, all right? But get out there. Don't stagnate. Get out there and dare to fail just a little bit. Moderation. That's right. Take care of yourselves.